told you, you're not welcome here. You're not welcome anywhere. Now get the fuck out of my bar.
Just give me one more drink and then I'll leave.
Hi, Peanut. I'm gonna need you to come with me right now.
Look, lady, I'm not interested.
All right, well, I'm sort of on the tick-tick, so upsy daisy. Here we go. Oh, whiskey dick of the claws. It's quite common in Wolverines over 40.
You don't want this.
Unless you want to take a deep breath through your fucking forehead, I suggest you reconsider.
Welcome to Punch Up Goes to the Movies, the Punch Up Entertainment movie review program that we do sometimes.
When there's a movie.
When there's a movie that we feel worth talking about and we don't have another show to talk about it on, we do it here. And that is the case because, damn it, if this summer isn't just full of blockbusters, and this was the only time we could talk about it. So we're talking about a film that I think a few people saw,
Just
called Deadpool.
Little indie flick.
Little indie. I'm John Campbell. With me, my fellow film reviewers here, Brendan Jones.
Hello.
Mike Gergoni.
That's me.
And Deadpool. No.
It's me.
He's cameoing everywhere now. Actually, I have been watching videos of Deadpool's now in Disneyland, and he's
doing story time.
He's stirring shit up down there, man.
Oh, no.
I don't know if you know this, John, but I think Deadpool knows he's in a theme park.
It seems like he's aware he's in a theme park, but I also saw him
breaking the fourth wall to the point where he just goes, "Hey kids, I'm an out-of-work actor. I finally got a job."
I will say,
doing stuff like
whoever
that.
they hired is doing a very good job based on the videos I saw. He is doing a great job of.
The people in the big suits, they have to act a certain way. Obviously, Goofy's going to walk different than Mickey and all that, but when it gets down to the characters that are in human costume with faces, they must really have to cast.
They do.
Want them to look right, but also can they act and improv in character?
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I will say they do a damn good job down there.
I saw a video of Daisy Ridley meeting the Ray actress at Galaxy's Edge. Was definitely like Uncanny Valley.
Yeah.
Ray does a great job. She's great with the kids. I saw her down there.
Oh.
And I also saw the weird stepfathers following Black Widow around the park.
Ugh.
Well,
yeah,
they need protection.
A lot of little girls and then some middle-aged men that were like, I love Black Widow.
Those middle-aged men may be in trouble from Hydra, and they need someone to help them.
I just got Hydra on my ass is the problem. Anyway, I think that's a fitting start for this episode. Deadpool and Wolverine. Fairly anticipated film, I would say.
Yeah.
For a plethora of reasons.
Yeah, a plethora.
A plethora.
Would you say this is a plethora?
I would.
Okay.
There's a lot of reasons. I mean, obviously, this pairing people have been wanting for a long time. It's even been sort of joked about in the other Deadpool movies with the constant Hugh Jackman references and Wolverine references.
Honestly, I'll say this right off the bat. I guess it goes back to his first appearance as Deadpool, because the idea of the Ryan Reynolds Hugh Jackman friendship, I'm like, where did it really kind of, because it's just been a constant. I mean, and even when they're not playing their iconic roles, all the ugly Christmas sweater memes and stuff when they're hanging out, they're genuinely buddies.
I was watching it with Ryan Reynolds where he's like, total sincerity, one of my closest best friends, legitimately.
Apparently, Hugh Jackman lived in an apartment owned by Ryan Reynolds for a while.
Right?
They are really true, not Hollywood friends, real deal, super best friends.
Which, again, that only can help something like this, where it is all about chemistry, and obviously they're not playing best friends. The idea is that Wolverine can barely stomach this guy, but still the chemistry's there.
Well, they talked a lot about, Reynolds has talked a lot about 48 Hours being the big tone.
Yes.
That was what they all, because the third part of this too is their mutual third best friend is Sean Levy, who directed.
There you go.
Who is also very close friends and collaborators with them. He's directed them both in movies, and he's directed the last few Ryan Reynolds movies, including Free Guy and The Adam Project, which you can to our archives and hear reviews of those movies. So it was sort of one of those things when they announced him for Deadpool 3. I'm like, well, of course.
Yeah.
That's the guy who makes the Ryan Reynolds movies.
He's the who's the director Tom Cruise keeps going back to?
Chris McQuarrie.
Chris McQuarrie to Ryan Reynolds is Tom Cruise.
You find your people, and plus if it keeps making money, something is very right.
Boy, howdy, is this movie making money. Good God.
I will say that the strike really impacted this year, which we've felt.
Yep.
But what a gift to Deadpool Wolverine, which would have made money regardless.
Unquestionably.
Obviously.
There is like people are salivating waiting for something like this.
That's exactly it. Right now, it is unopposed. This is a summer where it's like, well, there's your tent pole, and that's it.
I mean,
next year is the thing that everyone's sitting there going like, oh boy, here we go.
Because that's when we're going to get all of what we're supposed to be this year's movies glommed on to next year. So next year is going to be jam-packed.
Well, and let's see. As of right now, we're recording this on the Saturday after Deadpool and Wolverine's opening. And as of right now, it has made $115 million worldwide. And that's just in like the first 2 days of release.
Wow.
Yes. It is on its way to a potential $400 million opening weekend worldwide.
Oh, sorry. Worldwide. Whoops. I was just reading the international number. Worldwide, it's 211 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's it's very likely going to cross 200 million domestic, which is unheard of. And
I'm going to see it again. But again, I don't know if my thing counts since I'm using that pass.
I might already have tickets bought for tomorrow. So I'm definitely actively going again because hot take or whatever, big reveal here. This movie is just pure joy as far as I'm concerned. I had the best time watching this thing. And Brendan, you and I saw it together. And we were delighted.
Oh my goodness. On pretty much every level. In other words, the stuff, okay. Yeah, I don't know how, obviously other audience people, they're all loving it. But as far as fan service alone, amazing. I felt served as a fan.
I felt very well served by this.
There was some silver platter stuff that I wasn't expecting. I was like, really? And they're like, this is multi-course, sir.
We'll get into we'll have a key donation. We're talking broadly here. We'll have a delineation where we go to spoilers, although based on
I don't know who we're
spoiling it for because it seems like everyone saw it. But anyway,
fan service, dialogue, story structure. I mean, which some people are complaining. I see it's like, man, it's just more gobbledygook. It's incomprehensible. I'm like, no, it's comic book plotting. It's pretty.
It's really
I
good.
have to save my universe. I'm gonna go find an alternate Wolverine to help me save my universe.
I think that's the thing across all three of these movies that I've really appreciated about, because Deadpool in the comics, I'm in general a fan of the character in the comics, but like a lot of comic book characters, lazy writers can fall back on some bad tendencies, and some Deadpool comics are not great. All three of these movies have managed to do total Deadpool fourth wall breaking nonsense while also telling legitimate character stories.
Yes,
Deadpool actually has an arc,
not with incredible depth, obviously, because they can't spend that much time on it, but they sell it.
More than they probably have to, because people would just show up because it's Deadpool.
Right. I heard a crowd of teenagers out of when I was leaving the theater. I specifically stepped outside to like listen in on the zeitgeist, I guess, of like the crowds of people emptying from the theater and having a discussion. There was at least one, and there's a lot of hyperbole floating around. I'll say that much. But
sure. What? Would never guess. Young people at a Deadpool movie being hyperbolic?
Yeah, I know. But one teenager in specifically saying that they wanted a different Deadpool movie for every Deadpool we saw in this movie was an insane statement, because they're asking for something that they don't understand. But it speaks to the sentiment behind how much people are enjoying this film.
Yeah.
Have these gentlemen perused the Marvel Comics work? Because I'm pretty sure there's damn close to a comic for every one of those Deadpools.
I was surprised.
There's at least one comic that covers a lot of the Deadpools. I'll say that much.
Yeah. Yes.
I was surprised, and this isn't going to be a major spoiler because it's about the absence of something. But I mean, I know technically she's not a Deadpool, but I expected a Gwenpool sideline reference.
I'm so glad we didn't get that. I'm so glad. No, Gwenpool is one of my favorite characters in the stable of Marvel. I don't think she works outside of comic books.
I was going to say, I don't...
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
She's the self-insert, meaning she's... she knows she's in a comic book world.
A comic book specifically, and like how her powers interact with like the gutter and the passage of a turn page is like very specific to, as Scott McCloud would understand it, comic books.
She-Hulk did a lot of that.
She-Hulk did a lot of that as well, but She-Hulk can like also just be a straight character, and she has more of a like a history.
And there are some people who might have liked
storytelling.
She-Hulk the series to be less fourth wall breaky stuff. But anyway, it works for me on pretty much every level.
It's a rare movie. Brandon, you and I see a lot of movies together, especially a lot of comic book movies. Surprise, surprise. But it's a rare movie that when this movie finished, you turned to me and said, and people who know you, this is shocking. You went, no notes.
Yeah.
And because you always have notes, even if you love the movie, there's usually like, okay, well, here's the thing. But
this movie actually, and it's not its purpose. I mean, the purpose is just so we can get those two characters together who famously have kind of this relationship in the comics. Mm-hmm. Just like I would, of course, love to someday see Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, meet Tom Holland, Spider-Man.
By the way, the other guy is with you on that, Sean Levy, who's just like, every day I'm telling Marvel, that's the movie I want to make. And I'm like, that's one of those where it's just like, do it.
You're going to print money.
Marvel,
yes.
This thing made a lot of money. Spider-Man, Deadpool, that's going to make like $1 billion opening weekend.
Yes, but Spider-Man has to hang out with Daredevil first. There's some things I need first. Oh, I'm going to punch you through the screen. Boom. Oh, geez, wow.
Look,
you lost
all I'm saying is there was a very dismissive attitude towards the Daredevil in this movie, and I thought it was really funny.
No, well, but it's about a specific one. What I will say, that's actually leading to what I was going to say, is that the thing that surprised me, and it's not the film's purpose, but they effectively made you feel, or at least me, respect for and nostalgia for what came before. This felt like not an apology, but just sort of like, guys, you said, John, I think you said, well, Fox had to walk so that Marvel Studios could run. And you're like, yeah, but that's what I loved, is that they're not totally taking the piss. They actually, one character in specific.
You want to put the spoiler alert
I want to demarcate the spoiler alert, because I think there's one specific thing that really highlights exactly what you're talking about, Brendan. So spoiler alert from here on out. We're going to be spoiling the hell out of Deadpool and Wolverine.
We all say, go see it, right?
Great movie. Yep.
Recommend.
Oh, huge recommend.
If you
like fun.
I heard somebody
you may not like fun.
I heard somebody say this, and I agree. It's like, if you like Marvel even a little bit and have seen some Marvel movies in the last 25 years, you will enjoy this movie.
I saw it with somebody who is like self-admittedly thinks that superhero burnout is real. I know we don't necessarily sit in that camp, but she definitely does.
A liar, Gorgoni.
Well, I live with this person. I love her very much, so I'm not going to say that. But
I will say it for you doubly, though. Gorgoni's mom just calls him every once in a while to go, superhero burnout is real.
Get your life together, son.
That felt a little real. Anyway, keep going.
Real, yeah.
She said she really enjoyed the movie despite those feelings, because it is just so like fun and energetic, and it it doesn't turn into the usual like back half 45-minute sky beam laser fight that is a little indicative of what people complain about when they talk about superhero fatigue.
I mean, it doesn't. It's just so fun about it. I mean, at the end of the day, there's not a sky beam, but it's a time tendril thing that has to. So, but I don't. It's still. That's what I love about it.
Spoiler caveat here, but what I was getting at with Brendan's comments about nostalgia plays for the Fox era, that is typified when they go into a Green Day style graduation montage during the end credits of this film.
Were you like? I think both you and I had this reaction too, Brandon. Were you waiting for a turn on that? Were you waiting for some kind of like cheeky? No,
like a wink.
It's totally sincere, and I'm not going to say like I cried, but I was like,
I got a little misty because it felt like a high school graduation, like showing off middle school photos, being like, look how far we've come.
It's the same. It's very similar to how I felt about Spider-Man No Way Home, but amplified even more, where it's like, hey man, like not all of those worked, but they were trying, like there wasn't this. These people were making this in a vacuum when no one believed in this stuff. Yeah. And I'm going, God damn, they were out there doing their best, man.
To make a lot of money. They were doing their best to make a lot of money, but
that's
still
the thing, and that's been the big overarching film critic reaction of this movie. People are negative, are like corporate fucking synergy, the movie, total cynical cash grab, bullshit. And it's like, well, number one, all movies are made to make money, regardless. Just you have to move on past it. But this core team of your Sean Levy's, your Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, Paul Wernick, and Rhett Reese, who have written all of these movies with Reynolds, there is such
Zeb Wells gets a credit on this for some reason?
Zeb Wells is one of the credit writers, who's a Marvel writer, which is very cool. Always see people from the comics come into this world. But if you watch this and think this movie is made with cynicism, that's your own cynicism.
Yeah.
Because there is such love in this movie for this universe, these characters, this type of story.
And instead of, because obviously Deadpool takes a piss on literally everything, including current MCU or old and this, or the comics themselves, or their costume, whatever. And yet this movie is going out of its way. And the specific character for me, because it's the one that even I just like hard pressed to find anything positive to say about Jennifer Garner's Elektra, but this movie goes out of its way in its ensemble of, what it reminded me of is in Animal Man comics when he went to the limbo where all the forgotten characters were that aren't used anymore. I mean, that's which is very fourth wall breaky,
right? Like
that's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
And I find that heartwarming that he's basically, or this movie is going out of its way to say, no, they are badasses. Those movies may have been good or not, but we're going to let those characters shine here. And, Wesley Snipes doesn't need any shine. It's like, okay, yeah, Blade, badass mofo, great. Laura Kinney doesn't need any shine. She had one movie. She was awesome. They put her in this. She's grown up. She's still awesome.
She needs to be in 18 more movies because she's a perfect casting choice for that character.
Yes, I know.
I know.
I was a little sad they didn't get her in the yellow in this movie.
I was a little sad on that too, but we'll get there.
What I was actually
this made so much money. We're going to get Laura back. Plus, we see that she ends up as being one of the refugees that was pulled out. So she's there at the end in that party. So
everybody's fine, aren't they?
Well, they're not all in that party at the end.
They're not all in the party, but he did say, because they're not all from that universe, right?
That's true.
But he did say, they did sort of indicate to the TVA where it's like, could you take care of my friends too? And they're like, yeah, we'll get everything sorted. So I think this movie posits
also
everything is alive somewhere, right? Like
except for Johnny. Chris Evans, Johnny Storm. I didn't need too much because everyone, if you hate those movies, you still loved him as Johnny Storm.
We've always said half that cast is perfect. Evans and Chiklis are so good.
Yep.
Not only are they individually good in those roles, but their chemistry is dead on, and their scenes work like crazy. They're easily the highlights of those movies.
And the whole Tatum thing, which is hilarious because it's meta, because it's referring to something that never happened.
That was one of those things where you're always going to have those moments in a comic book movie where the person who has seen it but doesn't necessarily go as deep as us will turn to you and say, well, what was that about? And so it's like, okay, so once upon a time, there was a Gambit movie that was going to be made.
For like a while. I remember we spent years going, and then they're going to make that Channing Tatum Gambit movie. That was like 5 years that was on the Fox slate and would just keep getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And I actually don't really know why it didn't happen. And actually watching
X-Men Origins Wolverine, that's why it didn't happen.
I think they
no. That was going to fix X-Men Origins Wolverine. Where Gambit was in that movie. No, that was the thing, was they were going to apologize for people not liking Gambit in that with a more real deal Gambit movie. That being said, I think Brendan, you and I, he kind of ruled as Gambit.
He did. I mean, even though again,
I like Channing Tatum. He's a good actor.
I like Channing Tatum. Fine. I'm not a huge fan. And so even when that was being talked about and it was going to happen, I was like, because to tell you the truth, Fox's X-Men films, with a couple of exceptions, have been okay for me and not things I'm really excited about. So more of the same, I was like, okay, I'm sure he'll be fine. And Gambit's not a character I'm hugely fond of. I mean, I don't hate him. He's okay.
You weren't a child of the 90s where Gambit was the coolest guy ever.
Yeah, come on.
Right. The best thing I liked was the relationship with him and Rogue, because, two Southerners getting together, loved it. And the tragic romance, I can't kiss you without dying, great.
Yeah, and then, by the way, I any of the last couple of years, like, rom-com comics they've done with them have been delightful. I don't know.
Mr. and Mrs. X
I haven't read them, but I'm sure they're delightful.
Great. They just did another Rogue, and they're very fun because they're the chemistry crackles between them.
Yes, but so live action Gambit, I'm not. But did it stun me to see him walk out? And then the fact that he did nail it, I'm like, okay.
And the costume we talked about, they did the head sock.
They did all of it.
That
they did the costume. The 90s big old trench coat. They did the whole thing.
They call it out in the movie when they first reveal Wolverine's costume, and Deadpool says something to the effect of like, "Oh, you're not ashamed to be a superhero."
Yeah. That comment, I would love to have that inscribed, because that's exactly the way I've phrased it, and since John's known me, and to people who
I would assume before that too. I have to imagine.
Yeah, no, I've been saying it for years.
Like I just finally found my audience. This guy.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, guys, don't be ashamed. Don't stop. Don't dull those colors. What's the point? You're making a superhero movie.
That's the thing that's so interesting about. That's what I'm talking about. What the Fox had to walk so MCU could run. It was they didn't know. They were like, are people going to accept this?
And then they finally,
but they did,
even in Deadpool Wolverine, which is joke, action, blood. They give Hugh Jackman some of the best stuff to ever act as Logan, and that's considering Logan, which is amazing, of course, a tour de force.
Sure.
Yeah. But in this thing, they actually give this reason behind the costume and the reason why it took him so long to wear it, and it's built into guilt and it's built into shame, and it works, and the whole thing goes, Scott always begged me to wear this, and he's like, but I wasn't going to do it because I'm not in the team. I don't want to do that shit.
That's the thing. This isn't just Deadpool with some Wolverine in it. There is a great Wolverine movie. There's a great Deadpool movie and a great Wolverine movie.
They
taste great together.
Landing. Yeah, this is the peanut butter cup.
Well,
it is
a hero movie.
But I was shocked at how much of a real deal Wolverine story there is. In this
I don't know if it was Ryan Reynolds or Sean Levy, but one of them was saying on the press tour before this movie that this really isn't Deadpool 3. It's called Deadpool and Wolverine for a reason.
Yeah.
But actually, it's actually a really good Deadpool 3 as well, actually, too. So I don't think that was maybe I'm going to
push back on that a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Ooh. I think it really works as a great third chapter in Wade's story.
Yeah.
In Wade specifically, I think one of the things that rubbed me a little bit wrong about this movie, overall I liked the movie, but I have one big nitpick that really bugs me, and the more I think about it, the more it bugs me. And that is how the relationship between Wade and Vanessa devolves off screen.
Yeah, they could not spend the time.
No. And we get one decent flashback between the
scene.
Yeah. But I don't understand why Wade falls off the track, because at the end of Deadpool 2 it really seems he's got his life together, and he done did it. He fixed the timeline and got all of the good things. Why does he suddenly lose his impetus?
No, that's the point. He did everything. He succeeded. He won, and now he has no purpose. This movie's about giving him purpose again.
It is. That is the case. It's just, as I can see Mike's point, which is basically just they could not develop it organically enough. It had to just be spoken. This is what happened. And the idea that Wade would have basically had his spirit crushed by one, well, not, one, but essentially his shot at the Avengers and being turned down, and it's like, don't reach so high. And that has affected him to where he's like going, well, why bother? So now I'm going to go work at a car dealership. You're like, I don't quite know.
And it's funny, and it's like, but the more you think about it, you're more just like, well, that's a lot of like character downturn all of a sudden. And it works for the story. It works for Wade picking himself back up, getting back on the horse, meeting up with a Wolverine who needs to do the exact same thing. Like, all that's great.
It all works, but I do agree that it just doesn't have it feels writerly as, let's just get
it worked decently enough for me. I mean, I'm not gonna say like it's the most affecting emotional thing, but I guess I didn't hit on. I was like, okay, that's the story we're doing, and it's all solid within the movie.
One of those things where it's the more you think about it, and again, the whole second movie, and I just rewatched the first two Deadpool movies in like quick succession before I saw this one.
Of course,
the whole second movie is this struggle with him trying to get his heart in the right place, right? Like doing what he does for the right reasons so he can earn being with Vanessa even in an afterlife. And the fact that by the end of that movie, the movie tells us his heart is in the right place. He's the anti-hero that the merc with the mouth that he will, you love to hate and love and hate to love.
Jesus.
He's Marvel Jesus, and he has earned his place next to Vanessa and has done so via time travel, bringing her back to life. And so
none of the stuff that you're saying affected your love of the movie.
No, absolutely not. But it is something that, like, if I had to pick a it's maybe a little bit. It's more of a tick pick. It's a larger than a nit, definitely.
Yes.
Had to really grab it and pull it off.
The only thing that I thought after that I would have liked at the same time I love the movie is just in that final scene. Like, okay, great. Wolverine he's now part of the Wade family, and he's got a place, and he did become the hero. I'm like, a little interaction, even if it's just a look or something, to Colossus, because his Colossus died. And I'm like, you've got two X-Men in the room, and they're apart, they're separated, and it's all like, they have the thing where, of course, X-23 is right next to him, and so he can be talking to Laura, and that's great. Of course, I want that too. But I'm like going, maybe a fist bump or something.
I'm now writing called The Wolverines, because that's a movie that needs to happen. I said that coming out of the theater. I'm like, I need that father-daughter movie right now.
I would like that. At the same time, I am also, this ticked John off yesterday. Well, didn't tick him off. Mike, I will say the same to you. I would be totally fine with, and actually see this movie as a goodbye to all of the Fox stuff, including, yes, I'm glad that Logan's still alive, but I'm very ready for our MCU Wolverine, and I want Hugh Jackman, who's amazing, but let this be the tombstone and let him say, well, it was great. Logan was a great tombstone, and everyone was worried about them bringing him back.
That was my rejoinder to that comment, was didn't we already have that feeling? And he proved he's still got more in him. I think one of the things I love about the setup of this, though, is Hugh Jackman can play Wolverine and a new guy can play Wolverine. I mean, you can tell.
That's true.
Old man Logan.
I just kind of want Hugh Jackman to skip leg day. I'd like him to skip leg day and arm day.
Stop being the character everyone loves him as. That's a nightmare. Yeah, Jesus.
No, I think about a human being that has to go back into rigorous training, and I've seen those behind the scenes videos of him going like, I thought I was done with this stuff, and he's having to pump stuff.
That's
why let him go do other shit.
If he wants to come back, though, I'm all for it. I don't want him dragged back kicking and screaming, obviously.
But I think you do.
He's gonna show up. This movie made way too much money. He's gonna show up in an Avengers movie. I guarantee it. I'll call it now.
If that sentiment upset you, John, then prepare for my even more extreme sentiment, which is I don't want Logan as our Wolverine going forward. I want Laura Kinney.
All right. It's the last time Gregoni and I have ever podcast together. I hope everyone enjoyed this. This was a fond farewell. You're out of your fucking mind.
That's just where I'm at.
You want Laura Kinney to be the canonical Wolverine of the MCU?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
You want? I'm sorry. Back up. You want what?
That tanked in the comics, man. Why would they do that?
Wait, what I miss?
I want Laura Kinney, X-23, to be
Wolverine.
To be
the Wolverine, as in we won't have a Logan anymore?
We've had Logan for 20 years.
Yeah, but we haven't had a good... I mean, we haven't had a good universe.
Okay, Jesus. Am I not going to have to kill both of you by the end?
No. We haven't had a good universe to put them in.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The montage in this movie, by the way, where they go through, where Wade, keeps bouncing through the multiverse to find a Wolverine, and all they're doing is recreating iconic Wolverine bits from the comics and doing one-off jokes like Short Wolverine, which they went overboard with Short. I mean, they made him Puck from Alpha Flight, but still
great though, because that was such a they're just doing things like that. What do you want? You want this guy?
Yeah, and then the Cavill thing, which was
Cavalry.
That was the biggest.
I'm going. The legends are true.
You know what I've seen though.
Cavalry.
A lot of people going. He looked good.
No, I would think the same thing, except for again, I would
never going to be 5'3". He's never going to be 5'3".
Why not?
Who would play that? I've said this before. Who is that guy?
Danny DeVito.
They can find somebody. Every time someone goes, they'll never find somebody. I'm like, they need to look. Because there are finding unknowns is how this thing works.
Oh no!
Finding Christopher Reeve out of Juilliard. This is how these things work. No one knows that person. Then that person becomes the iconic.
Who is the absolute? Hugh Jackman was that, I guess. But I'm saying that really hasn't been the MCU's game up to this. They could do it, but
no, they tend to do very well finding people that look.
Where the hell did Tom Holland come from?
I mean, it's a similar thing
on Broadway.
In other words, I don't think that if you don't know the person, doesn't mean that person isn't out there. So they just need to cast that net.
If they, is Radcliffe too tall for you?
Radcliffe would be great if he would bulk up. The height works fine, and his ferocious looks.
I don't think you're going to get as small a guy as people want. I think a 5'9" Wolverine would still read smaller if he's next to a 6'4".
Well, yeah, it would be smaller. You get a 6'2" Scott Summers, then yeah. But regardless,
I think it's about that.
If they went with Laura Kinney as the MCU's Wolverine, I would have no problem with it because they have Daphne Keane. We're good. I would definitely want more Laura Kinney. I want more Laura Kinney.
But I don't.
Maybe she'll end up being a young Avenger.
I think that'd be cool. I do think one of the interesting things, taking this broadly, that I was thinking about after the fact with this movie is how much this movie has no effect on at least the 616 that most of MCU is in. They are still, by the end of this movie, Wade is still, he can jump, of course, between, but I think it's very interesting that I think a lot of people were expecting this movie to rip down the wall, and now Wade is hanging out with the Avengers, and he's still over in his own pocket universe with Wolverine and the other X-Men. So I think that's really interesting.
The larger implications for the storytelling apparatus of the MCU really come on the cosmic level and are more a continuation of Loki than anything else, right? Because it all has to do with what's going on with the TVA and the larger timelines narrative that's happening.
One thing that I found confusing in the movie, actually, and I loved every bit of it, but they keep coming back to and have Deadpool specifically reference is this is the fix for they did that multiverse thing and we all know how that failed as this meta joke, and I'm sitting there going, the multiverse in Marvel Cinematic Universe has been a couple of movies, including Doctor Strange and No Way Home. Obviously the Marvels but that's the tail end of the Marvels, and then the Loki series is pretty much the multiverse that we've gotten. None of the things they're talking about failed for me. I thought they were all great. So what's the joke about?
He was referencing the fact that this has been hailed as the multiverse saga, right? Before we had the Infinity Saga, this is the multiverse saga. And he was referencing the fact that there is a wide contingent of very vocal, angry nerds out there who have not liked anything since Endgame.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, I guess so.
I
Well,
literally-
those people are dumb.
A loud minority.
I tend to agree with you, except for the fact that I was standing outside of a theater last night, and some 17-year-old who doesn't know shit from shit said, "Ugh, I haven't liked any Marvel movie until this one."
I've seen a lot of serious film critics go, they've saved it. Thank God. This thing was about to die, and Ryan Reynolds saved Marvel. And I'm like, I think literally I looked this up to get my math right on this. Only the Marvels is an actual money loss for them, which is a shame. Your brother Robin is the biggest supporter of the world failed that movie. I tend to agree with him. But the idea that, like, Jesus Christ, Marvel's falling apart, you're like, they had one movie not do well. Everything else post Endgame, even Quantumania, underperform, but still made like $600 million. Which
Of course, Quantumania. Sorry, of course, yes. Yeah.
A massive, well, and that's been the big thing as well, because it seems to be the lesson they've learned. Not only did they have the actor, but Kang, I think, is just, I don't think we're going to see him again. It seems like they've
I think they can recast Kang. I don't want to get rid of that character because it's so...
I agree, but it seems to be the lesson they've learned from all the internal stuff I'm hearing is get as far away from that fucking character as possible.
Maybe
because of the actor.
Lesson. Because the actor, because that movie was deemed as underperforming and people didn't like it, and that was the big Kang movie, so they're like, oh, I guess we made a mistake.
I wish Marvel were smarter than just blaming that on that.
Reactionary filmmaking is never going to end with good creative decisions most of the time, right? That's how we get Rise of Skywalker.
That right out of my brain.
They are, but they've been smart about, because I think the thing is, like, anytime soon, because we talked a lot about when we reviewed Endgame back in the day, how much we were surprised like Dark World played into it. Marvel's very good about, like, we'll just kind of put that over here for a second and then we'll come. So I think they may end up doing something with Kang. It may no longer be the main thing.
They tend not to forget anything, even if they think that it failed. That much is true. They realize...
They will recontextualize. Yeah. I think the rumors, if it's true, that they're going to get the Russo brothers back to do the next Avengers movie would be very.
We'll see.
Call.
But the fact that this movie pulls Jennifer Garner's Elektra should tell you exactly how they treat failed.
That's what I'm saying.
Movies from the past.
I mean, if they've proven anything, it's the things that haven't worked or whatever. You know, I mean, even it's so interesting. My sister, who's the biggest Andrew Garfield fan, is like, "Oh, really? You all fucking love that guy now. What happened when everybody was talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2 and he sucks? You got to get him out of here." And I was like,
well, no one said that he sucked. The movie sucks. Andrew Garfield is a fine Spider-Man. That movie sucks.
But it's just so interesting that, like, I think it's flawed. I think there's some good stuff in there, though, which is what I feel about what this movie does with the Fox universe is like, and they had the thing I love about this is, they had no reason to do this. They could have wiped the slate clean because everybody's just like, all right, Marvel's got the Fox characters back. Fuck those movies, am I right? That's what a lot of the fan base is. And Marvel could have just done nothing and reintroduced Deadpool in a way. But the fact that they were like, no, guys, there was some good stuff in there. Yeah. We don't have to just burn this down. Is what I love about this is just like, you guys tell me. And actually, what's weird is he wasn't even a Fox character. Wesley Snipes' Blade movies were at New Line, which I think is funny. But
that's right.
Still in there. But it is like, you tell me that Blade wasn't awesome in his day, though. Like, you know, that's the thing.
I'm actually surprised we didn't get more of a side glance at the fact that Ryan Reynolds was in the objectively worst Blade movie.
Well, that's I will say that's another thing too, is I do sort of like when there's the whole line in the movie about we're finally going to get the endings we never got. I'm also just like, it's also just nice that I'm not ending Wesley Snipes' Blade on a horrible piece of shit.
Yeah, very, very important.
This movie,
he fights no vampires in the in this movie, but it's
we don't know what all those goons were at Cassandra Nova's fortress.
You're right, not
there
all.
Might have been some vampires in there, but it's sort of just like, yeah, Blade is just a bad, and he does all the Blade shit, including saying some motherfuckers still trying to ice me.
Yeah.
Which is the best ever. But I just was reading an interview with because they were all at Comic-Con. By the way, if you didn't want to be spoiled, hope you weren't watching Comic-Con footage because they brought the entire cast out.
They did, and showed them the entire movie. I wonder if the people going to that panel knew that panel was going to be hours long.
Yeah. I did see one film critic going like, "Well, they've revealed all the cameos, and I'm seeing the movie in 2 hours." So
yeah, if you didn't want to be spoiled for this movie, you shouldn't even look at the IMDb page right here because as of right now, they're all on there as well. Yeah.
Somebody asked Wesley Snipes about that. He goes, "Well, didn't you have a problem with Ryan Reynolds on Blade Trinity?" And he goes, "Man, when he was doing that stuff on the set of Blade Trinity, I didn't know what the fuck he was doing with that kind of humor and stuff." He goes, then I saw him as Deadpool. I went, well, that's a good place for it. So more power to him. I get it if he's a great Deadpool. But he was basically just like, but keep that shit out of my Blade movies.
Yeah.
Also, Wesley Snipes was going through other stuff in that movie as well.
Yeah. No, I don't think. The idea that person, I was like, even reading the context of that article, I was like, I don't remember Ryan Reynolds specifically being Wesley Snipes' problem with that movie.
I think Wesley Snipes was probably still he's learning that age humility thing, where I think he probably was
over on that movie though, big time. I mean, there's no question. They were trying to force him out. You could see it in the film. Yeah. So I am glad that those two are cool with each other. And man, old man Blade, we talked about with that cool ass white goatee.
Yeah. Oh, he looks great.
He looks so good, and he's in his Blade armor, and he uses the
glaive.
Blade ring. Yeah.
So
he looks awesome. Yeah. So that was very cool.
That has become this podcast. You remember that part? Oh, that was fun. And this part when he did that was fun.
Can we talk to like we mentioned the pardon the pun, cavalcade of Wolverines at the beginning of this movie.
Oh. But like, where do you want to go? Age of Apocalypse?
Age of Apocalypse. Crucified Wolverine. We got Patch. We got comic book accurate height Wolverine. We got the Cavalrine. Like just a litany.
We got the Hulk Wolverine fight, including the reflection in the claws. I was just like, Jesus God.
We got a little bit of the Hulk in that scene too. I was very happy.
I know.
Once again, if your reaction is how cynical, I'm like, I feel sad for you because you get the sense that like, and from what I gather from people who worked on this set, it was Sean Levy jumping up and down every day going, we're doing the thing.
We're doing the thing. We get to do this.
We're doing it.
In.
By the way, also, just a small note. I read a lot of the reviews for this movie, even the positive ones. Get off this man's back. Sean Levy is so fucking hated by the film critic community that even they're going like, well, it works because of Reynolds and Jackman, but it's poorly directed. You can see this guy's got no style, no substance, doesn't know his way around an action sequence. And I'm just like, man, what does he have to do?
Did they not see the Honda Civic fight?
Yeah. The Honda Civic fight was amazing. Of course,
unbelievable. All the fight, the confined space bloodletting, which you also get in the bus scene later.
The bus, that whole scene, great. That's the stuff comic book dreams are made of. That final pose of them coming out the back, and he's in the mask and everything.
Dude, I can't even talk about that.
I mean, the inclusion of the mask, which you're waiting the whole movie for because you've seen it on the theater cup or whatever, right? But it's so good when he finally does it, and it's not just fan service. It is part of the conclusion of his arc of I'm gonna be the Wolverine people want me to be, and he pulls that up, and you're just like, you don't have to love this stuff as much as we do, but to act like it's somehow bullshit. That's what irks. Yeah. It's the writing off that you don't have to love comic books. I don't care if you think it's dumb. That's fine. But to just be like, oh, and I bet the people who made it don't care either. That's just not true.
There's a difference between like casual dismissiveness of just like, it's not for me. I don't really care about this stuff. That's whatever.
I did see
that is completely legit.
It's the angry dismissiveness though of just like, I don't like this, and it's bullshit that you do.
It's bullshit that
that's
you do.
The problem.
Clearly, the people who made it don't really like it because no one can like it. Is always sort of the attitude, right? It's like, well, yeah, these guys just want to make money. Of course, the studio does, but I don't think Sean Levy made this thing to make money. Number one,
I think it's a combo. I think you can go combo platter on that.
Well, it's his job, but I'm saying I think the guy already has a lot of money.
Yeah, sure.
He's got that Stranger Things cash. That's another thing.
Oh, is there money in Stranger Things?
There's a lot of money. I go back to that a lot too. I'm like, if you want to talk about this guy being a bad filmmaker, Stranger Things alone will make me defend him to the end. Because he's the main visual director on that thing, and man, did he knock that out of the park. And I can't wait to see what he's going to do with Star Wars. It will probably have Ryan Reynolds in it, is my guess.
What?
That's no news. I'm just saying that those guys work together a lot.
Seems likely. If I were a betting boy.
I would say that, yeah, the over-under odds on that are pretty good.
By the way, public service announcement: don't be a betting boy.
Don't be a betting boy.
That could ruin your family and your life.
Yeah.
If you have a problem with betting, the fall at the end of the podcast, we'll post the 1-800 number you can call.
Rather than just go through a litany of listing all of the cool references in this movie, because we'll be here forever if we do. But
in fact, that's one of the reasons I'm going back again, is because even coming out of it, Brendan and I both were like, I think I missed a bunch of stuff.
One of the lines that there was a line in it that I couldn't get over, that I laughed way too long, and I can't even recall it because it is a blizzard of 1-2 punches, and I want to know what that line was. Because it killed me.
I do want to go let's do a once around the horn of just like, okay, what was the one that's going to stick with you, of just like, here is a gag or a reference to the death of the Fox cinematic universe, if that's because that's what this movie feels like, is a tribute to that, right?
A tribute, I keep saying Tombstone, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's honoring.
Maybe a eulogy is a bit, because it's. I think it's got a more positive, like a Tombstone is like, here lies. This is more like, wasn't that something? There was value to that thing. It's not. It doesn't all have to be great, but to pretend that somehow it's like, well, that was just biding time till we get to this awesome shit. Well, that awesome shit wouldn't exist without that. And of course, I've always been this guy because I love the movies, but it is like, and all of it goes back to Blade, because that was even before the Fox shit, man.
It's true.
No precedent for this stuff, really.
No, and that's why having Snipe's return in this movie is
you've forgotten about Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher.
Well, so did Dolph
I will
Lundgren.
never forget Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher.
I think you've forgotten Nicholas Hammond as the Amazing Spider-Man.
The guy who's still waiting for that call about a Spider-Man.
He's waiting.
But yeah, let's just I want to go around.
Kick it off.
Kick it off. I mean, look, would it be disingenuous of me to pick the most obvious one, and that is Chris Evans as Johnny Storm?
Well, it's not just Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, right? But it's
the fake
way he's used is so good.
The fact that there were so many people coming out of the theater being like, I had forgotten that he was Johnny Storm until he does the flame on in this movie.
I definitely hadn't, but I can't blame them for, right. Yeah. And it would because it's the whole thing about he shows up, even the way that he's wearing the cloak, and you can see a little bit of blue, and you're like, well,
that's again. There are plenty of ways they were fooling us. That would be for a lot of people. They hear his voice, and he's doing the commanding. It's like, okay, he's not doing the Johnny Storm voice. It's all meant to be a fake out.
And there was a little bit of the Silvestri score that kicked in when you see him over the shoulder.
And the red and white wrap on the blue sleeve. And I'm like, okay. But for me, I was thinking of Earth X. Because Earth X had Captain America as like a wasteland survivor look with like a hooded kind of thing.
That's what I thought it was going to,
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking that. And I was like, oh wow, all right, they got him. And then when he pulled the hood off, I was like, oh, they didn't bother to dye his hair, because that's Brendan Jones. I was like, oh, so now Cap's
you know what I love? They were ahead of you.
but no, that's still Johnny Storm should be blonde. I mean, it was like they're like Chris was like, I'm not dyeing the hair, but I'll come back.
You can't have nice things with
but the twist is so great. He's like going, he's gonna say it. Yeah. And he goes, flame on!
The whole build up to it, like I said, before you even see it, and I'm going like, I wonder who this is going to be, because they want me to think it's Evans, but is it? Because the way he's just like, oh my god, he's like, Wolverine, we're saved, he's here, it's the guy, sir, I can't believe. Because you get the moment too when they show him all the MCU stuff in the TVA, and he gives the salute when Captain America's like, oh, that's the guy right there. The whole, it's so well constructed. And also, I said this when we got into the movie, Evans is having the time of his life. He's
Yeah.
cut loose in a way that just he loves this. He
That
also did
post-credit
make-
scene alone, where he
Yeah.
actually says all of the shit that Wade is quoting at Cassandra Nova.
As far as a button scene, it's leading to nothing, but it's such a great wrap up of a joke because the whole movie he keeps getting guilt dumped on him, like you got that guy totally murdered. He's like, and he's dancing around it and he's kind of going, oh no, and then finally he's I'm going to show you guys, and then it is Johnny Storm just going on a cussing rant,
and Reynolds is so good in that too, though. He's like, really. Go on. You don't say. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
No,
and they're also buddies. And Evans did a cameo in Free Guy, if anyone recalls.
Yes, that's right.
As Captain America.
Not as Captain, as Chris Evans, because it's when Reynolds uses the Captain America shield.
Right.
And it cuts to him watching his phone. He just goes, "What the shit?" Really funny. Also, this is the first time I've ever really heard the clear Boston in.
Evans.
I think he was playing it up.
Well, because he is a Boston boy.
Yeah.
But I think, he was like, especially when he's doing the Cassandra Nova rant at the end.
Yeah.
We'll get to it in a sec. I want to stick on Gorgoni's thing. I want to talk about, but we're going to put a pin in Cassandra Nova because I want to talk about her.
We haven't talked about her at all yet.
Yeah. But yes, on Gorgoni's point, that was amazing. I've already mentioned a lot of mine, of course, the fan. Wesley Snipes was the biggest fuck yeah to me because I go back and listen to Meet the Monsters. Those first two Blade movies mean everything to me. Not as much as they mean to Ibrahim Mustafa. You can go listen to his interview. Those movies are like life-changing for him. But anyway, and of course, not only that he was there, but that he said the motherfuckers skating ice skating uphill. I'm like, oh, sorry. Did someone just make a movie for me? But I love that. But I will say a small thing, and we've already talked about Gambit being awesome. That he uses the bow staff in the film.
Oh yeah.
Number one, there's on that same note, the whole thing where Deadpool mocks his ability. Oh, you do close up magic, but then when you actually see him throw him in, and then 3, 2, boom, and the guy blow up from the charged cards is just like, They're just one of those like, pinch me. This is happening. I'm looking at this on a screen because I am unlike you, Brandon. Of course, I am a '90s kid, so Gambit is like top 5 X-Men characters for me. I love.
Wow.
Well, seeing him shuffle the cards and have them like full extension as he draws out, like that's straight out of a comic book. It's so good.
Well, that's the thing too. Where once again, it's like Sean Levy, you are such a nerd. He is just going, I'm going to put the panel on the screen, just like. I mean, the other one is the crucified Wolverine because, of course, that
with a mountain of bloody skulls around him. Yeah.
Iconic. And I'm just going like, this is on a movie screen. This is amazing. And and the one-handed Age of Apocalypse, all of that stuff.
And Patch.
That
montage.
That whole montage was just there for like, all right, this is for you comics fans specifically, folks.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway, those
for me, it was and it's totally basic, but the pose when they jump out of the van where it's just comics come to life.
There's the comic
Wolverine and the mask and the costume with he's got the blades out, and then Deadpool's got the guns, and it's just like, and it's great. And then of course they follow it up with the joke where he falls wrong, and then he's like, "Oh shit, I ruined it." It was going
that's the only thing anyone's gonna remember about that moment was I ruined it. That's just great because I like the Wolverine. I like that they keep that Wolverine still lands cool like a badass, and Deadpool. It's very
this movie. The movie never really, and I do like that. Wolverine is not breaking the fourth wall. Wolverine is hearing this person say a bunch of jibber jabber. All the Deadpool movies have done a really good job of whenever it's something specific that would confuse someone in their world, they never have them comment on it. I mean, all the Australian jokes thrown, you never see Wolverine going, "I'm from Canada, what are you talking about?" They just let it go as if Wolverine's not hearing the stuff that is not in his canon.
The way you have to think about Deadpool fourth wall breaks, or comic book fourth wall breaks in general, is the same way you have to think about musicals breaking into song, right? Most musicals, you don't have the characters going like, well, now we have to sing.
Well, the thing is that in a musical, though, everyone will, or the potential is there. So that's not weird to them. Deadpool is this one character who's walking around like a schizophrenic.
I would
talking about stuff that you're like, Fox, Marvel, what are you talking about? They don't know, but they're smart enough to not have characters interrupt the flow by going, what?
I was going to say they're almost more like, you brought up musicals, they're almost more like Shakespearean soliloquies a little bit, right? Where it's almost like, but people do hear them, so they're not even quite like that. They really are a unique thing, and these movies really indicate how hard they are because you see other stuff try to do it, and it's annoying as hell.
Yeah.
It's so well, once again, they really work these scripts. I think that's the thing I'm always impressed by. Because people do talk, yes, Reynolds improvises like crazy, of course, too. But he is also one of the writers, as is Sean Levy. So you have two of the main writers on set all the time.
Yeah.
And they're definitely always keeping the story. They know what story they're telling. They're not getting lost in the minutia, which I think worse filmmakers can when you get into the bits. It is joke, but it's always still furthering plot, even if it's a laugh here, and it's really well done. And yes, it's not the most advanced, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. It shouldn't be massively complex because I think that could also tear the movie asunder if they're trying to tell an incredibly complex narrative and joke. That could be. Well, that's just not what I want out of Deadpool. I mean, that's not what the comics are either.
Right.
So,
a Deadpool story does not necessitate elaborate plot.
No, but
not really.
It does, but it does have character, and I think that's one of the reasons I love. Gergon, you and I both are huge fans of the Posehn Duggan run because I think they really brought a grounding of humanity to this over-the-top character.
Well, and I would even point, and he's credited in the movie, but Nicieza, like, basically, Fabian Nicieza is, in my opinion, single-handedly responsible for putting humanity into Deadpool. There were writers who handled that character before him, but like the Cable Deadpool run that Nicieza wrote, like, firmly created the character of Deadpool in the modern era to me.
There's a lot of that specifically, of course, when the last movie where you had, because Deadpool. All the movies,
and I said this to someone else who was talking about this about like why Cable isn't in here. Logan is the Cable stand-in in this movie. You need a gruff guy to be the straight man, right?
It's what I mean, he's not gruff, but it's what Colossus is in the first movie too, right? Like somebody needs to be the wall for him to bounce against. Deadpool on his own doesn't work really because what is he then?
He can.
He can,
but he is an incredibly capable schizophrenic.
But
even before you get to Logan in this movie, you have Matthew McFadden as Paradox, who's a straight man. You need somebody in every moment for him because it's like it's Costello without Abbott or whatever, right?
The core of the Deadpool story is him trying to overcome a behavioral tick that he can't help, and that's the being aware of the fourth wall, right?
Yeah.
And like he can't stop himself, but deep down what he wants personally is to be considered a hero despite that. And like every good Deadpool story is him trying to overcome his inability to control himself and his behavior to try to rise to a heroic station.
To some degree. Also to kill people and make money. Because he is
there's a little bit of that.
Who has a mouth.
He does indeed.
Is movie Deadpool a merc? I feel like he stopped being pretty quick. He started as a merc, absolutely. But I feel like by movie 2, he's kind of not.
Well, movie 2 opens with him on a killing rampage against people he is contracted to kill, and one of them strikes him back home. That's the impetus of the plot.
Yeah. This one he's selling cars, so you know.
Well, and with this one, obviously, again, there's this big like time jump that again I rub up against and like find some issue with.
Could you please stop rubbing entirely? Because
I think that might have been your
rubbing way too much.
That was the problem.
I was stationary sitting, and the movie came to me and started rubbing. That's all I'm saying.
Oh well, it is a Deadpool movie. That actually is on brand.
That's on brand.
All
the you know what I love? The character is so appealing. Ryan Reynolds is so appealing playing it.
Yes.
And he's an ultimate badass with katanas and guns. There is a constant stream of homoerotic stuff that Deadpool says, and that's from the comics too. He's pansexual, obviously, and I find it really fascinating that brosifs and conservatives still love Deadpool because he's such a badass, and they seem not at all concerned about the constant references to this guy is making me hard, or I know what pegging is, and all. And I'm sitting there going like, Deadpool is a real crossover figure because people will accept it. And plus, these are hyper-violent films, as they should be with Deadpool. And you've got
registered that for some reason. It's a really
they don't register because it's all just he's a walking cartoon. He almost seems asexual in how sexual he is.
Gorgoni is I mean, actually, I think that is a way to read him. Is that he probably talks more than he does? He's
maybe. I mean, we've seen him and his gal get up to all kinds.
That's it, but he's kind of monogamous, is what I'm saying, though. I mean, I'm saying
movie true. Deadpool for sure.
Yeah, well,
movie Deadpool is
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
there's one person for him, and
comic book Deadpool gets around.
Sure, but I'm saying, like, there's definitely a guys who talk like that in reality. I definitely have a like, are you actually up to anything? But the thing I was gonna say before, were there kids in your theater, Gorgoni?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, that's what I thought,
and it shocked me how young some of them were.
But you know what's weird about it? Deadpool has just become a family-friendly brand, even though it's R-rated. It's the weirdest thing. It just is. For some reason, the tone of these movies have just made it. These are totally mainstream films. There's a reason
slapstick, right? It's cartoonish.
Yeah, it's the whole thing about, like, guys, we're not serious. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, we're going to say a bunch of raunchy stuff. People are going to get sliced open, but you're not really meant to... You're meant to feel the emotions of the movie, but you're not meant to be like, Jesus Christ, he cut that guy in half.
Yeah.
So, look at that, man. That's awesome. Like, the beginning of this movie, he kills a bunch of people with the corpse of Wolverine.
Yeah.
We literally see a person has their skin removed and then their organs and bones slough into a pile.
Yeah. But then you also have Deadpool go like, oh, isn't that gross? And everybody's like, it totally is, Wade.
Yep.
He's
impervious in more ways than one. He seems to be impervious to societal norms. Well, where people go, well, it's a Deadpool thing.
The fact that he's walking around Disneyland right now is crazy.
Yep.
Let's talk about. I want to circle back to Cassandra Nova. Talk about disturbing things.
Mm-hmm.
The way her powers are manifested in this movie is one of the most disturbing things I've seen on film.
Gorgoni, I know you have a fingers thing specifically.
Ooh, and like fingers in face holes or coming out of face holes is so upsetting to me.
Yeah, I know too many fingers or fingers where they shouldn't be. I know specifically, like, hit you on that's like that's a trigger.
Fingers with extra points of articulation also really bug me.
Yeah, and she's got some of that too. Yeah,
like seeing the fingers like come out of people's eyes and like tap around on their face was just like
it was gross.
It's gross. They're really good in this movie.
Emma Corrin, came to play. And actually, again, it's a comic book performance of a comic book villain, so broadness is to be expected. But even so, that scene at or towards the end of her bit, where it's Wolverine saying, "If he knew that you existed, not only would he love you, he would have done anything to get you out of here."
Where things get a little misty for me, where he's like,
and it is, and you see Emma's reaction to it, and you're going, they realized there was something there that was beyond just cackling, and it worked so well.
I was listening to they were just on a podcast I was listening to, and they were talking about this, and they said that Sean Levy would have them do every scene and just go like, bring it up 5 levels, bring it down, more comic book supervillain, less, and he talked about he was just playing that. And they said, I've never worked with a director who had that kind of understanding of bring this level up, bring that level down. I want to play with, so then in editing I can go a little bit more arch here, a little bit more serious here, more grounded, and just talking about directing like a fader on a sound mixer.
Wow.
And that's where I'm also going, like, that's the kind of thing that doesn't show on screen when people are bagging about Levy being a bad director. But that's the kind of thing where I'm like, that's a very good film director.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to really know tone and to make this work. And clearly, this is an actor, director very much in sync, but also that are in total agreement on where are we pitching this.
Yeah.
How much before Deadpool is obnoxious or frightening, or we can still like the guy. You know,
that is also the thing too. Is like the other thing too about him being a family-friendly character. Not only, but a murderer, an unrepentant murderer.
Yep.
Yeah.
But so lovable.
Who wants to be an Avenger?
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we didn't talk about the Favs cameo. Was great too.
Yeah, having Favreau pop up.
The thing too about we at the whoa. We?
Well, Avengers adjacent.
Yeah, it's so great. He's like going, he goes, I've been in this business a long time. He's like, chauffeuring?
Yeah.
Because you drove the car, right?
I briefly drove Tony Stark. That's where I started. Yeah. I love that Favreau is always willing to show up to be Happy Hogan.
I'm very jealous of Happy's office. Because he's got all the stuff, the little, like, oh right, there's that.
Great. I also another guy who's having the time of his life, and this is Matthew McFadden as Paradox, who is just number one. We know he's
you called him a straight man, and he is in the face of Deadpool, but
compared to Deadpool,
so goddamn funny, and he goes pretty broad here and there, and I'm like, yeah.
The
thing about.
The single fuck he gave when Wolverine and Deadpool walk out of there broke me at the end of this movie.
Yeah,
he's doing the whole like they gave their lives. Oh fuck! Like he's doing it. Oh god damn it! Yeah, no, he was gonna get away with it for a second. I also this whole thing about like they don't believe in severing timelines and destroying them anymore. But I think they should. Like that was a bad choice. It has some of the energy of his Wamsgam performance from Succession. There's some of that, but he's got a more confident.
He's off the chain. Basically, they said go.
Yeah,
and he was like, okay, all right, because he's not in a real world, and so he gets to go broad.
Literally. He's outside of reality.
That is very true.
And then I was delighted they brought back, and I'm blanking her name, and I feel so bad. The actress from Loki, who's the I was so glad.
Who rose
Wunmi Mosaku.
Wonderful. She's so good in We Own the City as well. Yeah, she's a wonderful actress.
She plays Hunter B-15 in Loki.
Yeah,
right. But then she gets the big chair. And when everything goes
as she should, because she earns it. She's the best of the TVA. And I love that Paradox is like, that guy we're not really sanctioning anymore. Like when Deadpool realizes, like, oh shit, this is unsanctioned, isn't it?
I gotta say the TVA, or what we've seen of it, they're very poorly organized for people with that much power. They're little subsects. There's always people trying to overthrow, and it's like, man,
there's a lot of infighting. A lot of infighting
over the TVA.
You go and you kill he who remains, it's gonna get messy.
That was what they were told, actually. Yeah, I guess that is the thing, right? Did you guys see, of course, we're in the middle of San Diego Comic-Con. They just announced Marvel's doing a TVA comic book with a bunch
I saw that, yeah.
They're introducing a bunch of the characters from the MCU now into the comics.
Cool.
Through the TVA.
And they did something similar with S.H.I.E.L.D. back in the day.
Yeah, it's very much like that.
And they're including the characters that don't belong in any universes as being like
Spider-Gwen,
so you got Gwenpool and Captain Carter and who's that? There's like is it a Hawkeye that seems to be in there? It's a bunch of different ones,
but it looks super fun, and I'm glad they're doing that because the TVA obviously has really caught on with the public.
Oh yeah.
Because they're fun. They're fun. They are inherently trying to put order to complete chaos, and the message seems to be like you have to embrace the chaos.
Can you imagine if
Deadpool amongst them is living chaos? Of course.
If the TVA was still like what it was originally conceived of as in the comics, which was like a Judge Dredd knockoff.
I know. Yeah. They're considerably. It's one of the things where we always talk about this. The Marvel movies. they have such a benefit of getting to do that second pass. They get to do the rewrite. They did this. We're going to take some of that, but we're going to kind of rejigger it over here and actually maybe end up making it cooler. Not necessarily.
I always keep coming back to, which is they make changes all the time, which should piss off fans. The thing is, they are so well thought out changes.
Yeah.
And so I've never seen them really blow it. Except for every now and then I'll go, the casting on this is not what I would have done. Doesn't matter.
Sure.
Because they've thought
casting mistakes happen.
Yes.
But
you sit there going, wow,
really
these changes
haven't. Even when you're talking to that, like you wouldn't who you cast, but you end up. I think in general, has there been anyone where you were like, oh, they whiffed. That guy just wasn't good.
Well, I mean, the
Harry
obvious
Styles
one
is
is
Star Fox.
I mean, but like Terrence Howard right out of the gate, right?
Actually,
but that eventually gated us Cheadle, which.
Yeah, I thought
that is, to be fair, more in retrospect, where it's like, oh, I like Cheadle more, but that's not.
Yes.
It wasn't like
I didn't think
Howard
it was
really blows it. I just think
no.
was better. Yeah, it's the same thing with. I think Norton was a great Banner. I just like Ruffalo more.
I still dream of a world where Norton continued as Banner.
Really?
I love Ruffalo,
Wow.
but Norton is visually. And I thought he pulled off a great.
I think he's great.
Banner.
I think he's great in the part. It's Ruffalo is Bruce Banner though.
Well, because Ruffalo got more time to be him, and really is great. Got no problem.
Part, yeah. Whatever the thing they set up about the reality where Thor is holding a dying Deadpool. And they keep coming back to that. Very funny.
Was that
the
Matt
fact
Damon
that
as stage play Thor?
No, it was Thor from
that was. Yeah, it was Hemsworth.
It was Thor from Dark World. They put Deadpool in place of Loki.
Yeah, that's the scene where he's holding Loki.
New Hemsworth footage. It wasn't new Hemsworth footage.
Okay.
That wasn't new footage, right? But that was great. And then it becomes basically every time Deadpool wakes up or is dreaming throughout the movie, it's like God of Thunder. He wakes up and goes, Thor.
It's just it's so good. And like I said, I think I was saying this to you, Brandon. I think something that I saw some critics be pissed about.
Oh no!
Is almost like they can't this movie's uncriticizable in some ways, at least from the Deadpool front, because he's already made all the jokes about himself. He's already called himself a corporate shill. He's already talked about this being synergy. Yeah. It's like he's ahead of it for you. So it's almost just like, because I have seen some people go like, boy, it mocks Marvel, but then it totally indulges and everything. To which I'm always just like, did you think it wasn't? You thought it was going to be like Marvel shit, and everybody's going to be like, yeah, it is. Fuck these movies.
I think that is one of the smartest things that Reynolds could have done.
Joking with Marvel. It's funny with them. Yeah, they're poking fun at themselves. But that's upsetting to people who want to mock it, where it's like, they've already made fun of themselves. No! Like, what can I say? They're just
How
like,
dare they?
Yeah, some stuff didn't work. Well, that was what I was going to say. Ah.
I will highlight, and maybe I shouldn't do this, I don't know, but I think it's a pretty good example of exactly what you're talking about, is the headline of Polygon's review of Deadpool and Wolverine is, Deadpool and Wolverine makes the MCU the villain, and not in a good way. The subline here is, this celebration of Marvel and Fox feels more like a funeral. Look, Joshua Rivera, writer at Polygon, I'm sure is doing just fine, but it sort of exemplifies the attitude you're talking about.
I am taking the Uwe Boll approach, and he can come fight me.
Man, it's desperate when you take the Uwe Boll approach.
This is what they've reduced me to.
All right.
Yeah.
And look, the review itself, I've read it in full, has more nuance than the title would imply.
I should hope so.
But
since you opened this door, can I just read one thing that is, and I swear this is not.
Oh, why'd you open the door? I told you not to.
I was telling you about this, Brendan.
Dawn of the Dead trying to hold it shut, but it's just
all right. But just one thing, because I think it's a perfect encapsulation of just like the film critic attitude, and this comes to us from the Daily Telegraph of the UK. I'll read it in the proper accent.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Paraphrase T.S. Eliot. These fragments has, as Marvel shoved against its ruins, though the crumbling continues regardless. And I just thought, like, boy, you must be so happy with yourself, man. I hope that guy is just thrilled with himself.
What rough beast shambles towards Bethlehem?
I mean, it's just like it's one of those things where it's like, I get it, man. You're smart.
Hey, I just have a question for that reviewer. Can the center hold or not? Could you please be more specific about whether the center will be holding?
It's just one of those things where you're just like, I get it, man. You went to college. You fucking hate the funny books.
I shall now read the poem Howl in its entirety.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said,
I've seen the best minds of my generation going to Deadpool movies. It's weird.
I respect the people who, because there were plenty of film critics who were like, look, I don't like these movies, but if you're a fan, I can see that you will love this. And I'm like, that's great. Do that.
Yeah, do that.
I think I was talking to you. Was I telling you? I can't remember who I talked to anymore. I talked to so many people on these podcasts. But
sorry, Grandpa. You take your time.
I saw an interview with Tarantino where they asked him about the Scorsese comment about Marvel superhero movies, but somebody goes, look, they don't mean anything to me. But he goes, but I meet people where they were 8 years old when Iron Man came out. And so to them, when they talk about what a big blockbuster movie is, it's a superhero movie. He goes, if those had come out when I was 8, that would be my opinion too. He goes, I just didn't grow up with them. They weren't my thing. But he goes, but to act like because you don't perceive this as the height of cinema is somehow an objective opinion is kind of reduction. And it's just like, because that's legitimate. Those people have sincere attachment to going to a Marvel movie is the equivalent. That's equal to a blockbuster.
But it also comes down to the idea that there is no such thing as objective art, right? We can say that certain movies are objectively good, but we're speaking hyperbolically because, it's all about what you perceive and your lived experience coming into a piece of art.
Yeah.
Look at us sounding like intellectuals now.
I believe you meant to quote the great T.S. Eliot, who once said, Yeah, I mean it's always the great Annie Hall joke about McLuhan, right? The idea of grabbing the guy and going like, "Hold on, why happen to have him right here?" And he's just like, "You have misunderstood everything I've said, sir." That
understood nothing of my work.
Yeah, it is always that thing where you want to be like, "Well, excuse me, what the fuck do you know, man?" Well, and as much as I love Martin Scorsese, it is like, and I love the man so much, but I am just like, "Hey, shut up, old man." Why does your opinion matter any more than anyone else's, even if you are maybe the greatest living filmmaker?
But that's why Deadpool and Wolverine, to me, speaks like such a loving eulogy of a thing that we had at an earlier time before they had, like, I don't want to say perfected the formula, but it definitely, like, honed in on what makes the superhero movies special and fun.
Also before the people who should be making them started making.
Sure, exactly. When you have guys like, I don't know, no offense to Christopher Nolan, he's a good filmmaker, but when he says, like, comic books don't interest me, when he's making Batman movies.
Yeah.
But I still stand by this, and I think it's true. I don't know that, but I think that was the right Batman movie for that time. That was the take that people wanted. Like at the time,
worked.
the thing about it's the thing about X-Men in the black costumes. I don't know that the colored costumes wouldn't have worked, but it definitely felt like we're going to slow roll this. We're going to do a lot, but you're going to do this. And yes, it was you. I don't know if you saw Kevin Feige literally had a quote the other day where he's like, "Yeah, I was in those meetings. There was a studio executive going, they wear leather in the Matrix. Wear leather here. People like that."
Yeah,
that was the thinking at the time, and you did have the one guy who was there through all of this. That is why it's the greatest victory, right? Is the low man on the totem pole on those movies was Kevin Feige.
Yeah,
and I just was watching because he just got his star on the Walk of Fame, Kevin Feige.
Oh wow!
Of course, I'm a nerd. I was watching the ceremony for it, and Hugh Jackman talks about he was the guy who under the radar was going like, you should read this comic. And going to his office, which was full of toys, he goes, they didn't even make toys for these movies. These were just toys Kevin owned already of the characters.
This was these were the Playmate Secret Wars toys. Yeah,
that's the thing where it's just like he goes, he just wasn't like anyone else. He was a different guy than all the other people. And I think we've all read the MCU history book that was just out now.
Such a good book.
And they're talking about, like, whenever there were script meetings about what should happen in X-Men, Kevin Feige was the guy who would just open up a comic and go, "Did you just do that? Can you film that?"
Do that. It's right here.
And it was like, but I think that's the thing. It's just like, I don't know about the public, but the film studio system was not ready for that.
Yeah.
And he was the guy who Marshall all along just kind of quietly biding his time until it was time for that guy to stand up and go, I think we should do this. And finally somebody went, then go ahead.
But this movie in particular is a love letter and a send off, if not send up, to all of those bits we had to stumble over to get here.
Yeah.
And some of those bits are great. That's the other thing too, is I love those first 2 X-Men movies so much. There are things about them that date them, and they wouldn't do it that way now. But God, when I came out of that movie in the summer of 2000, I was jazzed. I was like, oh my God. You know,
at the time, there's a thing.
Nobody ever give me that straight a dose of Marvel, even though now it feels like they were sharpening the edges off.
But I mean, that is what we all experience as fans of this stuff. That is now so widely not just respected and loved, but done well.
And taken seriously.
I cheered when there was a Doctor Strange TV movie in the 70s. The thing is that it doesn't necessarily make it good. It just means it existed, and they were giving me something.
It was an acknowledgement of your love of the franchise.
More
than one person would appreciate it.
I do think some of the Fox movies are still legitimately good, though.
I like some of X-Men 1 and 2. Certainly do.
I just think it's like we talked about it. It's like the Adam West thing too, where it's like both things can exist. We can have good new, but that doesn't mean like so that retroactively means all of that was shit.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't take away the enjoyment of.
Yeah, I've never understood that attitude too, where it's like, you know, I mean, but there was some of that when Dark Knight came out. I think that's shifted now, but it was like, oh, those Michael Keaton movies were fucking awful then, weren't they? Like, no, they weren't. Those, by the way, those movies still rule.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, there's a lot to be mined out of those Fox movies in terms of like selectively saying like, oh, this bit was good, and building on those bits that are good.
Hugh Jackman's still Wolverine, right? Like
exactly,
they nailed it on that. They had a thing that people.
I think the casting was okay. All right.
For the most, but a lot, let's say a lot of the casting was very good.
Yeah.
There was a lot of stuff that I think that's the thing that I was just amazed by, was that the whole point of this movie is like, don't forget about those, you guys. They don't have to be the thing you love the most, but they have value. And I think that was the biggest thing. I went into this expecting this to be the beginning of something, and weirdly it was the end of something.
I think that was teased a lot and smartly. You know, we all saw the teaser with, you know, him saying like, oh, and I hear that in Secret Wars they're going to introduce, which of course is a funny joke that doesn't show up in the movie, but they're in that hallway that's important in the movie.
You can tell where I do like that moment in the end of the movie where I'm like, oh, this is where they shot the pre-roll thing about
exactly.
They did that on that same day.
Yeah. and all that is great, but it did make people think, oh, this is where we're going to first see Reed Richards, or they're going to tease this.
The Marvel Jesus thing, right? Of sort of being like, oh, this is where Deadpool's going to come in and kind of reorder everything, so this is how it's going to go forward. And instead, he just brought the Fox stuff in for a landing.
That was it. And that was surprising, but welcome. I really enjoyed it.
I think that's it, and I feel like I see this reaction a lot. I feel like we're all kind of having it. We all didn't realize we needed it to be that movie. It's like, oh, actually, I'm really glad that's the road they chose.
They chose catharsis over like renewal.
And then, like we talked about, that montage at the end.
That was so well put. I'm sorry. Don't roll over what Mike just said, because it was powerful and it was
good. And similar to that point is like when you're watching the montage at the end and you see McKellen put the helmet on and you're just like, oh, dude. I mean, that's the thing where it's like, if I'm going to pull out anything from those X-Men movies, any scene with Stewart and McKellen.
Oh, you're kidding? Come on.
You know, you are going to have, that is where it's like, you are going to have a tough time.
There's a reason the best X-Men movie is probably considered Days of Future Past, just because it is all of them, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I have a poster for in this room. So it is like, because it is just like, and they just talk about some of the best casting ever, both of those guys. I do think, we will get a new Wolverine, but that guy's got big shoes to fill. Like, really,
big old shoes.
because it is. Hugh Jackman just got a by the way, I also saw this. He got a renewed Guinness record because he already had the Guinness record from Logan for playing the same superhero for the longest amount of time, and then they just re-upped a new one because he's now even longer of a record for the longest time being a superhero. 24 years as the same superhero, and no one's played it in between. I don't know that we'll see that again.
Seems unlikely.
Seems unlikely somebody's going to do one thing for that long.
No.
Maybe Reynolds, maybe, because I don't think.
I don't know. The way Hemsworth talks about Thor, I could see it.
I just saw him at Comic-Con where they're asking. He goes, "I don't know. They got to call me."
Well, they put the logo up already. It's slotted.
No, they didn't. For Thor, it's not slotted. We'll find out in a couple hours.
Did I see a fan-made thing?
I think you might have, because
It was like Thor, and they didn't put a number after it. But it was like Thor, and I think it was something like the Legend of Hercules.
No, that's not officially been announced.
Not official, but again, as of this recording, we're still pre the San Diego Comic-Con announcement.
It's really weird. Yeah, whenever you're watching this, we'll know probably what all of Phase 5 or whatever looks like. But we are like an hour and a half away from the Marvel panel starting.
Let's see.
Also
on Polygon, I'm just checking the latest releases from SDCC. I've got an update ticker on my computer screen right now. They just finished up the Star Wars panel a little bit, or the Star Trek panel.
Will there be more Star Wars?
Star Trek. Yeah.
Sorry,
I did.
Star Trek.
I saw some of those announcements. Shockingly, I know I saw some Star Trek news.
Okay, well, that's for off camera.
That's for off here. I guess that all to wrap this up is what just a good time. I saw Ryan Reynolds just going like, our just whole goal was to go. We wanted people to have the best time at the movies.
It was fun,
and he succeeded. It is. I don't know
undeniably fun.
I don't know that I've laughed this much in a movie theater in a long time. It is so. That's the biggest thing I came away from. I said at the beginning, joy is what I came out of this movie feeling.
Yeah.
So joyous. The movie itself is full of joy for these characters and
this
world that I love, you know?
Joy sounds a little pure of a term for a movie that has a guy getting spit roasted with adamantium claws.
and yet that's the magic of Deadpool, my friend.
It is the magic of Deadpool.
I don't know how they pull it off. It's a tone unique to Deadpool. You can take your grandma to this and she'll be like, hoo, hoo.
Oh no. My grandmother would never talk to me again if this were
so charming. It's people like my mom going, I like that Ryan Reynolds, and she wouldn't watch other R-rated gory stuff, but she's just like, but that Ryan Reynolds.
Agreed.
Yeah,
that guy's again, I keep saying it, like the character, he's kind of bulletproof until the day comes when we find out something terrible about him. And then it'll be like, oh, no, not the nicest Canadian.
I will say, I did have this thought, and this is a terrible me thought. All the Blake Lively jokes in the way, I'm like, boy, if they divorce, this is going to be a tough watch later.
It's going to be.
Well, considering she is Lady Deadpool and their kids are both like baby Deadpool and the Deadpool kid.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
When they point at Kid Pool and they're like, "Oh yeah, she's the worst one." That's their like daughter.
Yep.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
They have 4 kids.
It's like she's the filthiest or she's the nastiest.
Yeah.
They have 4 kids together. That's too many kids, man.
Too many kids, but I will say this, a testament to how much they like each other.
Well, and also those kids are good. That's good genes. Those are going to be some good.
They'll probably control the world eventually.
Yeah, those are that's a lot of good genes in that.
They're going to take that Mint telephone money and they're just going to.
Oh, that Mint Mobile. That's the thing.
That aviation gin money is going to last them the rest of their lives.
Need these movies. He's making so much money.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing.
Between that and the soccer team.
Yeah, Wrexham. Yeah,
I haven't watched that show.
It's fun.
And what was it? What the thing about Rob McElhaney? His cameo was cut.
Oh,
he was a
poor bud.
He was a TVA agent, but he got cut. Yes,
that's hilarious. And I saw the behind the scenes thing of him in the outfit and Jackman stand next to him. They're laughing, and I'm like, going, "Well, that sucks to show up in your buddy's movie." Like, sorry, man, we had to cut your bet.
Look, talking about the IMDb, I did see. I was like, where was McElhaney? I watched the movie. I saw him on that, and no, he got cut. Yeah,
I'm sure we'll see that in a bonus feature
in
somewhere.
His chest. Yeah, well,
yeah. Son of a bitch. I'm sure he was just like, God damn it.
Oh, well. Again, they're buddies and they own a football team.
There it is.
I love this movie. Go see it. And
it really needs our help. I'm not sure it's going to do well.
Go see this little thing that our friends put together. Come on, help them out.
I guess
I want to hang out with these guys so badly.
My last note on this movie is you talked about how fun it is, how like joyous it is, and I think that is the antidote to people feeling any kind of like superhero fatigue, if that's what you want to call it.
Once again, so many think pieces written now about like proves the spark is still there for superhero movies.
But it just
did it ever go away? Really?
What if we just had fun? Isn't that good? If we have fun,
fun.
Yeah, that
if
is
the
awesome.
Superman and Fantastic Four movies coming out next year, if they are at the baseline entertaining, that's a victory. Yep. They don't have to change the world. This is a genre, and some of them will actually push boundaries and be like real movies to think about.
The Captain America Brave New World trailer certainly paints a considerably different picture.
Well, I mean, you can do anything within the superhero universe.
Yeah,
dramas and horror movies, and
up till the Red Hulk at the end, it's a little bit like shit. This is a '70s,
focusing on,
was it
on that
edited
stuff.
for the two of you when you saw it in theaters?
It was. Did you notice that they took out the shot of Isaiah shooting at Harrison Ford?
Yeah.
Directly. They show him stand up, then they show Harrison Ford duck down, but they actually cut out just the snippet of him aiming a gun and shooting.
However, you also notice that the edited footage of Red Hulk at the end, where he has a huge pad on his ear, this enormous bandage.
I think that was really
Red Hulk's ear.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah. Well, did you guys see the thing that they got rid of the title of the season finale of The Boys?
No. What was it originally called?
The original title, I believe, was Assassination Run.
Oh.
And now it's called Season 4 Finale.
Yeah. Got it.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it had a
well.
warning I've never seen before, which is just like, please note this thing was made, of course, like a year ago, and we had no idea how much the plot of this was going to be directly affected by.
I can only remember the Spider-Man trailer with the Twin Towers before 9/11.
And I remember that trailer.
Pretty awesome trailer. But yeah, they had to yank it because those buildings.
Yeah, you can still find it on YouTube, and it is a great image. But
he catches it.
Anyway, thank you for watching. If you want more exclusive content, we do have a Patreon page, podbean.com/. There's a lot more Brendan, so much Brendan on there, in fact.
Almost too much, I would argue.
Almost. We found out where it would kill people, and then we backed it off a little.
GMB. Too much fun.
Head over there, and of course, you're watching this on YouTube because that's the only place this is. So, like, comment, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. We got lots of great content here on the channel. You're gonna want to join us for everything we're talking about.
Let us know in a comment below. What was your favorite little cameo reference, whatever, in Deadpool?
Yeah, and also try to take a guess at whatever was the line that cracked me up so freaking hard, because maybe you'll remember it.
Because there's just a brief mention. There's a McConaughey cameo in this movie, so
Yeah.
There was a line so funny it caused Brendan to black out and forget why it was so funny.
Just start suggesting, and Brandon just.
It was one of the Disney stabs, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway,
I know you really like the Mangold line.
The Mangold line is great, but that wasn't.
They can't kill that guy.
The guy who's getting spit roast is like, "Please make it stop," and then Deadpool goes, "Mangold tried."
Yeah. Great stuff.
So good.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll catch you on the next review, but that is going to do it for this one. So bye.
Bye.